Welcome to Small Business Big Visibility. You are all in for a treat today. We've got Andrea and Susan. We're doubling up here, and there's a good reason for it. And the reason is Andrea and Susan they were both running their own companies and then realized that they found far greater power when they came together with the synergy that they bring. So Andrea, well, first off, she loves concerts, loves music. Same with Susan, and I think secretly that might be why they actually decided to do business together. But that's a whole nother story. But Andrea's kind of got an interesting thing. It was a PhD in human computer interactions, right? So does
Yep.
that mean you literally were studying people using mice and keyboards, like,
And software.
and
Yeah, and
software?
software
Yeah.
engineering.
Like that is like to me, I immediately go to tech support and be like, please restart your computer, right? But I imagine it was way more sophisticated than that, seeing how you've worked with what was it, like 90% of the top Fortune 100 companies, which is
Yeah.
kind of a unique thing. And then Susan, as I understand, you started out on a completely different trajectory in life, and then somehow life bounced you around to now you're this marketing expert, and you two bring your superpowers together to
Yeah.
supercharge.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. And we can get into kind of what those journeys look like as well
So
as we keep going.
I'm curious, before we get into it too much, favorite song and favorite concert you've ever been to for both
Oh
of you.
Oh
my
man,
God.
that's like the hardest question in the world. Like this will be the toughest one of the podcast. I can tell you my favorite concert though, and it's gonna surprise everyone. For my parents' anniversary, I think, when I was still a young adult, teenager age, I bought the two of my parents and myself because I really wanted to go tickets to a Rod Stewart concert. And
Nice.
my
Okay, we might need to
dad,
have
I
some
think,
big
got sick.
solve
So
our.
yeah, so I think it was one of my parents got sick. So I went with just one of them. And it was honestly like the coolest concert ever.
That's awesome.
My taste in music, though, so you guys don't all think it's just Rod Stewart. I am into like hard rock, alternative, like new metal, like that type of stuff. A little bit of folk, the new country-ish rock type of stuff. So I don't even know what genre that is anymore. It's just crazy.
Oh
Too
my
cool. How about
God.
you, Andrea?
Okay, I gotta say, so the very first year that I went to Rocklahoma, um, drove up and walked in right when Hailstorm was playing, and it was
Mm.
incredible. And then at that same concert, I saw 10 Years, which is a band that a lot of people don't know about, but they give an amazing performance. And then Shinedown was there. So that concert and those three events were highlights for sure in the journey. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So if you had to have one song that you would pick that's like, that's my song, what would it be?
It's so cliche, but Shinedown's the Sound of Madness one. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. What's yours, Susan?
Yeah, Susan. She's
You
asking that
guys,
question.
I'm
Did you know?
telling you, it's literally, I'm like, I'm pulling up my music. I mean, it depends on the day and the mood.
Oh,
I will tell you an artist I'm super into right now. I feel like she's so underrated. And my favorite album came out like a decade ago, but I just discovered it like last year, and it's still my top is Lacey Sturm. I love her album.
Mm,
I can't even think of what it's called, but go find, it's like 2016-ish is when it came out, and all of the songs on there. It's not very often that you have a band or an artist where you're like, I love all of the songs on the album. There
hmm
are a few, oh, it's called Life Screams is the album.
mm.
mm,
If I could pick a song favorite off of it, I think it would be Impossible.
There
mm.
we go. All right, everybody, go check out their favorite songs. Now tell me, Susan, what was your business journey? How did you decide that you're going to get into business? Like that was for
Yeah.
you? What happened there?
Okay, I'll try to give the short Cliff Notes version. I
Well,
grew up,
don't
my
leave out
parents,
the exciting details either.
I'll leave out, I'll give you the quick and dirty, and then I'll put the exciting stuff in. My parents, from the time I was born, they were entrepreneurs, were
Mm,
small business owners. Um, and so I grew up with that lifestyle of my parents owned their own business. I saw, and I've always been like an independent spirit. I've had jobs with bosses, and I always kind of knew like I do not want to work for somebody. I'm going to work for myself. I want to set my own schedule. Um, One of the key things that I learned though, because I know you work with a lot of small businesses too, Jason, so your audience might resonate with this.
Hmm.
Watching my parents with their business, I saw the potential of the benefits, but I never saw them be able to actually take advantage and take part in the benefits of being
Mm.
your, having your own business. It was all, and they were a local like service-based business. They had a garage door company, and like if they took a vacation, it means people aren't getting paid. If we take
Right.
a, and it was family business for most of the time. There were some
Hmm.
employees that were non-family over the years, but it was mostly family. And it was like, if we take time off to go on this vacation, it means that your paycheck next week is lower.
Yeah.
And they could never get to the point where they could truly enjoy benefits of being small business entrepreneur type of lifestyle. But I think that that's kind of the norm. I think that most small businesses are that way. So I'm watching this as their child, and I even like worked in their business at one point where I'm seeing this and I'm like, well, I want to be my own boss, but I don't want to be tied to the business like them. Like I
Yeah.
want to be able to take my family on vacations. I want to be able to take the holidays off. I want to be able to do that. And I want to be able to have financial freedom that a non like if you're just a W-2 employee, you don't really get to reach that level because your salary is capped.
Right. Right.
You can't grow beyond it unless you go do like a second job or, you're investing wisely. So I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, independent, be my own boss, have my own business. But I also was not very good in school. I went to a few years of college. I never got a degree.
Hmm.
And so at the time in the early 2000s, I thought my options were extremely limited. And I think honestly they were. And so I went the multi-level marketing, network marketing route because I thought that was the only thing I was going to be able to do. I
Uh-huh.
did that for about 8 years. And then a wonderful person, mentor, came into my life via her ad that was about freelancing. It's like you actually have skills that people will pay money for. And I got into her program. That was what changed the trajectory of my life was that moment. My first client that I had, it was to clean up their inbox for like
Oh, okay.
$15 an hour. I'm like, this is incredible. I'm making money, like money on my own for a skill that's mine and not selling somebody else's product. That
Yeah.
was the huge like aha, like I do have skills that people want. Um, that led me to really quickly led me to an amazing person, Catherine Jones, who is teaching how to do funnel design, like sales funnels in the ClickFunnels world, how to
Okay.
do design. That's actually how Andrea and I got connected, was in that program. And that then was like the skill. I actually, at one point prior to all of this, prior to my network marketing, I did attempt a web design company because my sister was teaching me how to do it. And I was like, this is awful. I don't want to learn code. My brain does not work this way. This is the worst. And so that lasted a very short time. So when I saw Catherine's program of teaching how you can do design, like basically web design, but funnel design
Yeah.
without design experience, because we're just leveraging ClickFunnels, which was like fairly new at this time.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, this is my thing. And I went all in on that. That's where I've been living. I started my business, started selling that as my service. Andrea and I started circling around each other, got more and more acquainted with each other. Um, and I won't spoil the ending because Andrea's got to insert her piece of the story in here at some point too. But that's ultimately how we decided, like, let's just go into business together because we saw each other as collaborators
Right.
because we have different skill sets, collaborators and not competition. And so it just things aligned and it worked out.
I love it. To me, that's so powerful because you had this opportunity that as a kid you saw all of the negatives of entrepreneurship where it didn't ever get to that success stage and you saw them struggling so much and yet that didn't push you away from it. you still saw there is the reward out here, and you kept chasing that. And that's amazing to me, that
I
fact that you didn't let it jade your views.
Yeah, I really saw it as a challenge, and I still see it as a challenge. I can honestly say, like, I'm still not to that point yet in my
Sure.
own entrepreneur journey. I'm still kind of chasing it, but I saw it as a challenge because I don't, Andrea, I don't know what it is, which of those tests that gives us our values, but like I highly value freedom.
Mm,
And I don't see any other option. There are like it's this option is going to lead me to the freedom that I desire, and I don't see any other options. Like me going and getting a job under somebody is not going to lead me to the freedom that I seek. So it's
yeah,
like this is the option, and I have to just figure it out. And the path might change and it might look different, and it will evolve. And as it has over the last 7 years that I have made that shift into selling my own skills. But yeah, it's a thing that I got to conquer.
absolutely. How about you, Andrea? What's your story?
Well, to start at the end of that, that's where Susan and I definitely align. For me and my whole journey, it is choosing this path because of freedom, and I don't see any other way to accomplish that. So okay, and so my story go all the way back. So I was actually in the Air Force. Well, I was actually in the Merchant Marine. I sailed on merchant vessels around the world for. I went to the Merchant Marine Academy. I crossed over to Air Force as soon as I graduated because I didn't want.
And tell everyone what merchant marine means.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. It's so funny. A lot of Americans don't know this, but after Pearl Harbor, 50% of our Navy fleet was depleted. And so the military at the time had to make a decision to rebuild the fleet, or what they decided instead is they give compensation to merchant vessels who normally would carry goods, and commodities from across the ocean. It's actually the number one way that imports and exports are shipped and received in the United States. Funny, like most people have no idea, but that is like that is how we get goods and services. That is the majority of it comes over on a ship. So in order for the military to not rebuild, they give money to merchant vessels to be American flagged. And so then in state times of war, the military would commandeer those like total Johnny Depp commandeer the ships and use them in times of war instead of rebuilding the fleet. And so hence the Merchant Marine was born. It's like this Department of Transportation. Most of the time we are just helping with the shipping of goods, but in times of war we would serve the military. So yeah, so that's the Merchant Marine, and it's one of the five federal academies, and so out in New York. So yeah, but when I was done with that, I did not want to sail on merchant vessels anymore,
Mm.
because it's just a different lifestyle. And but I owed time for my service, so I crossed over to the Air Force, and that was actually when it all started. So I was working with a bunch of really smart engineers who first introduced me to the field of human computer interaction. And so that was where it started. Fast forward, got to the Air Force, got a PhD in human computer interaction, minus a couple like attempts at vagabonding that failed, but got a and
Wait. What was that?
vagabonding, minus a couple attempts at vagabonding, which is really where my heart wants to go. Just, get us my
Yeah,
Sprinter van and live out
getting
of a
there.
van, but that's a
So,
different.
did I understand correctly that you said you tried to be homeless and failed?
Yeah,
I've
right?
not very many, met many
Oh,
people that fail at being homeless.
I know.
But
Yes, it's just
homeless with like intention and
right.
money.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
exactly. Yes, yes,
Money and homeless. Got it. That is a much harder combination to do.
yes, yes. No,
Like
my
own have a
aspiration.
camper, travel the world, like travel from concert venue to concert venue. That's the
There we
vision,
go.
right?
Now
Yes, that would be
all the
life.
dots are aligning. I'm seeing how they
Yes.
connect now.
Yes, that would be life. Yeah. Yeah, so got out of the Air Force, got a PhD in human computer interaction, and went into corporate for 18 years in research and development. Worked with some of the, as you said, some of the biggest brands. I was out in Silicon Valley, and we had to take a new round of investment capital on, and I ticked off the wrong investor and learned a really good lesson, got myself fired. But right around that time, I had just done a 2 week sprint down in Peru working with a shaman. Um,
Mm.
and I had done ayahuasca while down there. And I just couldn't, when I came back, I was not the same person. I
So did you go down there with some specific intention, or were you just like, this will be cool?
Okay, so in my friend group, I'm the ride or die person. I'm the like, if anybody wants to do anything, I'm an immediate yes. You know, you do not need to give me any details. I do not need to know anything. Like, if it's important and I get time with a friend or an experience, I'm in. I need
Mm,
no other details. And so I had my best friend in the world who was getting out of the Air Force at that time. We had met in the Air Force. And she was like, "Hey, I really want to go down here as like a life transition, but it's going to be intense." And I was like, I was like, sure, yeah, I'm in. I had no idea. I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea what ayahuasca was. I had no idea even what like working with a shaman meant. I had no idea about like Peru or the Sacred Valley or any, like, I had no idea what I was getting into. Um, she tried to warn me, but I'm like, I got it, girl. Don't worry. We're gonna, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
you and me
Like,
together. Perfect. What else do I
right,
need to know?
exactly. What else do we need to know? Yeah. Yeah, lo and behold, it changed my life forever. So it was so when I came back, I couldn't tap into the same things that I used to in corporate.
Mm,
And I had already kind of been on the outs with this investor. And so I think it was just that was like the perfect storm. So yeah, so got myself fired, got a nice little severance. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur no matter what. I'm never working for a male-dominated corporate anything again. So I yeah, found Russell Brunson, found Catherine Jones, found
mhm,
Susan, and started doing this agency work. And yeah, and it's I never thought that I'd be able to apply my big enterprise skill set to this space because that
mm.
kind of skill set isn't usually honored or like the credentials and everything, the big titles and all the other crap that I had. Like this entrepreneurial space could care less. You know what I mean? It's like what
100%.
if anything, it's like a down, it's a negative,
Right.
like birthing things, blah blah blah. So yeah, so I feel very blessed to have found a space where I can use some of that and a partner in Susan who helps ground it all. And so yeah, so that is my quick down and dirty journey.
I
Mm.
love it. Wow. And so you two are both in this program coming totally different angles.
Mhm.
And when you first met, was it like, oh, we should do business together? Or was it kind of like, oh, who's
It was
this?
tough. It
What
was
was
like it kind of reminds me. Okay, so the metaphor is, like, okay, the in the movies when two space stations are like trying to dock, and it's like you're gonna dock, like this is happening. Like there's too much good stuff that we can see, but we're
Mhm.
both pretty autonomous,
Yeah.
and we both had our own agency. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you could have seen us as competitors, right? We don't
Yeah.
believe in competition, but like so it's almost like these two space shuttles that are like trying to dock and like we're going really slowly together, having a lot of conversations and a lot of intentional like, but what? But what? And so we're kind of like making these micro adjustments, and like we get really close and we're like, oh no, not quite
Not quite
it.
it. I
Like,
think it
so
was what, like 2 years of that, of us
yeah.
just kind of like being around. Like someday we're gonna figure out how to work together, but right now it's
Mhm.
not, that's not it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
So there was just
and
a
at this time, were you both in the funnel building space?
Hmm.
And so very much you're providing a service where someone's like, I want to sell something. They come to you. You're like, let me build up this nice shiny little thing that flows people through, and then money comes out the other end and customers come out the other end. And you're both building that independently.
So it was a little bit different in that I was primarily building like the front end funnel stuff
Uh-huh.
for my clients. And Andrea was focusing more in on the membership spaces.
Yeah.
For what Andrea, the way that I won't speak for you, but you want to speak like that's not wasn't intentional. It just kind of happened that way.
Yeah, total fluke. I had intended to have a funnel agency, but divine intervention, every single client that came my way needed a membership space,
Oh, wow.
which was honestly much more suited towards my skill set in
Mhm.
product research and development. So yeah, so and then I started working with ClickFunnels, love Russell Brunson, but I'm like, this platform from a user experience standpoint, out of the box is like sorely lacking. So
Mhm.
I started to try to like, how do you make technology bend to your will? And it
Yeah.
was the only platform that kind of allowed for it. So yeah, so that was deep what I was in when we were first starting to work together.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how without even trying, we will naturally attract the
Oh,
right kinds of customers and people to us. And I hear that reaffirmed. Like, Andrea, you've got all this user experience expertise. You have these flows of this is the way people think when they're interacting with something. And it made that perfect fit to people who need that interaction on a computer came to you. And Susan, you're on the front end with all the marketing side and understanding what is that communication that we do to get people from not even aware to buying. And that's so cool to see that split, which makes sense why you'd be like, ooh, we've got some magic here where we could work together.
Yeah.
mhm.
And so really what brought us together more than just like, oh, I kind of know you're there and you kind of know that I'm there and we're doing our thing, was that I had a client that I was doing funnels for, but also she was building courses. And so I was helping her put that together and building the membership space. And she had me on retainer. So I was like watching what was happening. And I knew from my experience in going through the first mentor that I talked about that was about freelancing, and then Catherine Jones, which is Lauren Golden, by the way, I'll give her a shout out. She doesn't, I don't even know if she does that program anymore, but and then Catherine Jones, both of and which they were also friends like that. I found Catherine because of Lauren. And so like
Mm.
both of their experiences, the courses, the programs that I entered into had an amazing like bite size. I'm gonna teach you something and then you need to go do it. And I could see the way that they had designed that experience. And I don't think that they did it, the way that we kind of talk about it for Catherine is that it was like an intuitive thing. Like they knew like this makes sense for someone to learn this way, but they didn't really understand like why they were doing it that way.
Mm.
But they did it. On the other side, we have people that that's not part of their intuition to try to teach someone that way. And they kind of just treat it as like, let me just like throw all of my information, let me make 3 hour long videos and put them into my membership space and they'll watch it and they'll learn it, you know? And so with my client, I was seeing that it wasn't the experience that I now had a standard of because of my experiences going through other programs. And so I started to kind of like, well, I'm seeing that this is happening in this course, so let's do the same in your course. And I was like doing monkey see, monkey do. I'm like, I see
Yeah.
that they're doing that and I liked it, so let's try it in yours. And then I got to know Andrea more and what she was doing at the time and her expertise. I was like, that is exactly what I've been trying to figure out on my own. And I think I asked you, I'm like, can I learn from you? Can you teach me? Like I'm trying to do this and I don't know what I'm doing. And then Andrea at the time, she's like, I want to see if I can teach this to somebody else.
Oh,
So
right.
yeah, let's try it. And so I don't even remember what we even did for me
Yeah.
to try to learn from you, but I think I just started watching what you were doing and maybe we had some Zoom calls together. I don't remember.
Mhm.
But that was when I started to see Andrea's genius. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, this makes sense because it's not just like I'm guessing or I'm kind of like I see that this is people are responding well to this, so let's do it. There was actually like science behind it and like there's actually frameworks behind it. And that was huge for me because I'm a framework person. Like if you give me a framework, I can follow it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So as the ships were starting to come together, how did you ensure that this wasn't going to be a statistic of partnership ends up with the two heads monster? 6 months later, it's burned to the ground. Like, what did you two do intentionally to solve for that?
What a great question. Okay, well, so because of my experience in corporate, I think two things helped, at least on my end. So I think because of my experience in corporate, and just the way that people were transactions. That was it. It was what do I have to do to woo this person to get a deal, right? I didn't really pay a lot of credit to the human part of that exchange.
Mm.
It was very cerebral and very corporate. And I think after my time with ayahuasca and coming back, part of the reason what I say, like I was different when I came back, I could no longer see people as transactions. Like it was
Oh,
gone. That
wow.
that that part of me was gone. And so I knew no matter what I did, whether it was back in corporate or not, I knew that like that could no longer be the way that I do business. What that means is when you're in a meeting and you're having a human moment, you don't just power through. Or when, like your kid is sick and you're trying to like focus on work, like, no, that's not. Like it's those like allow the human messiness to enter into the equation in your business. Like
Mm.
we don't check our human at the door, right? So I knew
Yeah.
that that was really important no matter what I did. And so I think being able to express that and share that and make sure Susan, agreed with that. And then the second thing is that I so my best friend and I, we tried to go into business prior to Susan and I going into business. And I learned so much through that experience. And because we were best friends, we knew how to fight. We knew how to have healthy conflict.
Yeah.
And so I think when you let your human come in, I think the natural next step is conflict will arise, right? Because it's like a human and these beautiful egos that are coming together that are like, I want this, And so if we allow human to come in, then I think we have to also allow for healthy conflict to come in. And so when Susan and I first got together, that was one of my like first stipulations of like humans coming in. I refuse to let non-human stuff just go by or like human to be suppressed. And we have to be able to fight. We have to figure out how to fight because that's going to be really important. And I think both of those, I mean, Susan, I think I don't want to speak for you, but it seemed like those were well received. And immediately we got to the business of allowing that in our business, even more so than the business itself.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I would say that was I would agree with you, Andrea. That's probably the key of why we've been officially in business together. I think we're in our like 3.5 years now, which I think that means we've outlasted a lot of partnerships that normally get together. Because you're right, Jason, is like sometimes they don't work out very well. And there's definitely been ups and downs. And I think it's just because I feel like so I'm married, I have kids. Andrea, just for awareness of audience, is not. And so we have that different perspective too.
Mhm.
And I approach it as like business partnership is like a marriage. Truly, it is like you have to. It's like when you enter into a relationship and you commit, and there's like literally legal documents in a marriage. You have to want it to work, and it's like you have to. Be willing to keep trying. I think as long as both parties are willing to keep like working through the messiness, then it works and there can be things that are resolved. And I think that's the same thing for business partnerships as well. The other thing that we really struggled with early was because we were two autonomous uh, businesses and what really helped me with this is I'm looking at my bookshelf. The EOS guy, Rocket Fuel. The book Rocket Fuel
Mm.
talks about visionary and integrator, right? Integrator.
Okay. Hmm.
And well, we both read that early on. We couldn't quite see how it fit. It's like, no, we're both equals. We're both like we both have the vision in the business. And for a while, we really tried to make that work. It was interesting for me when we joined together because Andrea brought a funnel designer with her into our partnership that she was already working with. Um, and she's still with us. We love her, Nicole. Um, and I was like, great. So I don't do that anymore. That was like the thing that I did. I'm like, so what do I do now? So it took me a while to figure, like really a while, like a year
Hmm.
or maybe even longer for me to really figure out what is my role in
Oh,
this
wow.
partnership. Other than like Andrea and I right away were able to be like think partners together. Like that was right away, that was like the benefit. It's like, oh, we can like come up with such great ideas and get them into actual like reality together. We actually later today, we're gonna have another session like that. We're like, we gotta just come together and strategize and like we're gonna find the answers. Like we're really good at just figuring out the direction we need to go when we put our two brains together. But for a while, it was like, I don't know what I do. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what my role is. It's not funnel builder anymore. What am I doing with my life?
You're right.
And then even after we started to discover that a little bit more, it was still like, still too trying to be leaders of the company and visionaries. And actually, I would say that the biggest change happened at the beginning of this year for another reason, but we made a kind of a radical shift in the company where I was like, Andrea, no, like you're this is your role. You be the visionary. I am this, and I'm going to support the vision. And while I still contribute to the vision, and the direction from the marketing perspective and lens, it's still like Andrea is a visionary of the company. And if it's not grounded in the truths and frameworks that she's created, then it doesn't work and it doesn't happen. And me stepping into that and kind of I think it was actually more Andrea. I'm going to speak for you a little bit. Andrea not wanting me to feel like I had to step back or down. And I was like, I'm fine with it. Like, I'm good. I just need a creative outlet and I'm good. And I think that maybe Andrea, you can speak for yourself, but maybe that was a shift that you had to go through.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Even now, it's always a little bit uncomfortable, but it's what makes our
But
company
but
work.
it's been working really well. I
Yeah.
know, yeah, I think it's been working well for the health of the company.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it sounds like what I heard you both say is one, you've got to allow for the humans to be human still. You
Mhm.
have to allow for healthy disagreement and a mechanism to really be successful in resolving disagreements. And then you have to have clear roles. And when people take those principles that you've applied, they could potentially have a successful partnership as well.
100%. I'll add one more that I
Hmm.
actually think has helped us just on a tactical level. And that is, so we have a client, his name is Denham Slade. He has a temperament indicator. Now, and I've used a lot of personality assessments throughout my years. But I would say that this one is probably the most accessible and most easily, readily usable. So it's what'smycore.com. So everybody on our team knows their temperament. And Susan and I use the language of that all the time, and it
Mm.
helps so much. Because it is so spot on, and it has helped a lot in just the
Yeah.
tactical day to day. Okay, where are you at? Where am I at? Yeah.
Yeah,
And also knowing how to communicate to one another and our other team members because it really honestly like what's my core.com like everyone should go do it.
Yeah.
It's life changing, but
Yeah.
it gave us language to be like and be able to have introspection of like why am I reacting this way to this conversation or
Mhm.
why am I like pushing on this so hard. It's like oh because of my temperament, because of that. Like that's why. Like those are things that might be something that might be triggering me, or it's because of this that I is a trait of mine that I am now aware of. And so then it gives us more grace with one another as well because we know those things about each other more than we did before. And so it's like, oh, okay, it's just something that, Susan's working through and, we'll come back to like one of the things is like, so we're not so vague. One of the things is Andrea's temperament is conflict resolution and like we can't let the feelings sit. Like we got to come back and we got to talk about it and we have to have closure.
Mm.
Whereas like my temperament is like I can do that, but I'd rather like I've learned the lesson, like let's move on and I don't need to talk about it and we don't need to we don't need the closure. And so we know that about each other and so we're able to like give grace to one another of like Andrea needs this, but Susan needs this and we can kind of like compromise easier. So and that's just like on the like conflict and like learning how to fight side of things. And then there's like a whole other side of things that is just how we work, like literally how we approach tasks is different, and it was has helped us know that too.
Mhm.
That's powerful. Yeah, understanding where people come from and what words mean to them can be
Yeah.
so much too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it you two are actually doing in this world? Because we've danced around a lot of subjects of user experience. You studied how people use keyboards and see the screens and you've the marketing side and the funnel side and the courses. What is this thing that you two are helping the world with at this point?
So we work with experts like in the online space. We define that as anyone who has like their expertise, a deep expertise in something that they are then trying to
So can I interrupt for
transfer
a
their
second?
knowledge. Yes.
When you say expert, that's not necessarily because we've got two people on this call with wildly different backstories. Andrea, with a formal education and PhD, clearly the world recognizes your expertise. Susan, without any of that formal PhD level. So we're not necessarily talking about a formal expert, right?
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
No, it's whatever, like self-taught. Like you've acquired this knowledge not just from learning and reading about it, but you've actually applied it in the real world. And so that's how we kind of define you're an expert. Like you have the knowledge and you have uh Andrew,
Been
you say
battle
this, like you've
tested.
passed it on to others as well.
Yeah. And it's been battle tested. Like it's a
Mm,
lived experience. It's been battle tested and you've passed it on to others. Hmm.
Yeah.
got it.
So with the clients that we work with, they are trying to continue to do that. They're trying to pass their expertise on to others, either to teach how to do what they do, or to teach their methodology to try to get a result. So we've worked with many different types of clients in many different spaces, from like financial to spiritual to personal development and like learning how to play piano. Like it's been across the board because they all have knowledge and an expertise about something that they're trying to educate their person with. And so what we do is help create the learning experiences. Andrea says this best, where there's like a skill building phase, and then there is the habitualizing the skill phase, because learning something is way different than actually putting it into action. And then once you've put it into action, that doesn't mean it's going to stick, right? Like we've all
Mm,
had our New Year's resolutions where we're like, I'm gonna, lose weight and I'm gonna eat better. And you've learned what you should do, and then you go and like getting into action and actually doing it is a step, like it's a hurdle that you have to get through. And if someone breaks that down and makes it easier for like, just start with this thing. You don't have to like cut your calories in half yet, just like eliminate this thing, right? That's much easier
mhm.
to do. So that's kind of what we do with their expertise. And then to actually like create habits out of it's not just a diet, it's a lifestyle, right? It's like when you go into the lifestyle portion of that, it's because the changes and the transformation have become a permanent thing. Like you no longer operate the way that you operated before. You
Mm.
operate in a new way because you have habitualized the skills. And so we help with like those parts of it, the skills and then the habit. And the way we do this is by creating programs, courses, memberships, like those are the common words around it. But we like to call them they're more experiences because we approach it differently. It's not your run of the mill courses. Anything that I left out, Andrea?
No, that was perfect. Yeah. Hmm.
So really, you're the team behind the scenes that's helping these people that have been through the school of hard knocks and they've made it through something and they're like, whew, that was something. I'm going to now share that with the world. I know this now because I've been through it. I want to help others experience this transformation. And you're building that system that lets them bring people in and give them a transformation in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
And it's more than just let's put together a product that you can go sell that promises that transformation or the results that they're looking for. But it actually, like, we actually focus on, we want people to come in and we want them to get the results. Like, we focus heavily on their customers getting results.
Hmm.
Because one of the things that we talk about when we're writing a book about it, and Jason, you were at our event about it, is called second sales, or you're in the second money economy. And so for the entrepreneur, our client, they do care about their people getting the results. They want that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. But they also want to be profitable. They also need revenue. They're not, nonprofits. If they only cared about teaching people and helping people, then they can be a nonprofit, right? But they have their own goals. They have their own, finances that they have to take care of and to keep everything in operation and provide for their lifestyle. So they have to be profitable. And so our focus is, yes, we're helping you to help your people, but we're also helping your business to get what we call more second sales. So in technical terms, that's like increasing the lifetime value of their clients and customers, reducing the churn and increasing retention. Like we're keeping their customers in their ecosystem longer and ascending up their value ladder, if you know that term. Like there's usually a next offer after that and a next offer after that, and we help them keep moving through their world of offers.
But the difference though that I'm hearing kind of shining through and glimmering little pieces is what you're doing is you're creating this new world that not your customers step through, but their customers step through. So you're helping them architect this new world that gives their customers a greater level of success when they're going through the program so that they would naturally want to ascend and pay more because they're getting the results they want. So why not put more gas on the fire and get even bigger results? So it's not so much the traditional sleazy sales tactics that people associate with the sales world as much as it is if we deliver exceptionally, then people will naturally want to continue working with us, right?
Absolutely. And the cool part, just to throw a little stat, is normally it's at double the rate. So if you can get people to go through the new experience, about double of them will actually ascend with you.
Wow.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
That's incredible.
the thing is that it's like we're living in a time where trust is almost currency. Like it's like we have such a trust deficit with people because of AI, and it's just going to get worse. We already had an issue with the easiness of creating funnels and programs and everything, that we had people that were claiming to be experts putting knowledge out there that's not actually. The um the expert that just learned it but then didn't actually do it, right? They have no experience in actually getting anyone results with it. So we
Yeah, what
already
does
kind of
Jack
have.
Black say? If you can't do, teach.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So we already had trust problems in the market because of people doing that and taking advantage of that. But now it's just so much more because AI is out there, and it's like create your course in an hour with AI. It's like cool, but like is it worth someone's money to give you to do that? And then also with like AI lookalikes, right? We have people that are not even showing up in video as themselves anymore. So we're gonna have a problem with people trusting what they see. And I think that if you can deliver on what you've promised and show up as who you are, be a human and treat people like humans, and give them these experiences where they're actually getting results, like people are going to be so lenient toward the results that you can give them because you got them some results. And I think it's like people are going to buy from people that they trust more than um, if they think that you can get them, the huge result. It's like, I'm going to do business with you because I trust you. I trust that you're going to
Mm.
try. I trust that you're going to do what you say, and you say what you do, more than some person out there running an ad that's promising this crazy result. And maybe they are getting people that result, but it's like, I don't really trust that you're going to be able to get me that result. So I think that trust is going to become a currency. And so we have to build systems and products that don't take advantage of that with people.
100%. I was just listening to a book the other day, and halfway through, the book was poorly written, but it was okay. And it was very generic, and it wasn't even halfway. It was probably a third of the way through. I was like, I think this is 100% AI. And a little bit later, and then we moved to the next chapter, and at the end of the chapter, it says, if you would like me to change this response in any way, I can do that. And they totally taken the AI and
No.
just put it in the book. I was like,
Oh, no.
wow, they didn't even proofread what the AI gave them before they threw it in. And I was like,
Oh,
well, that book lost all credibility. But I kept listening because I was so intrigued by the way that the AI would write the book that I started looking at the patterns that the AI followed over and over. I was like, oh, well, I got a better education, not on the subject matter, just on AI.
Yeah.
what's not to do
Right?
Yeah.
and how
Yeah,
it's
but
writing
that
books.
author,
Yeah.
they're trash to me now. I'll never look at any of their material again.
Yeah.
Ugh, to be
Yeah.
so careful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yet at the same time, AI is this amazing tool when it's used the
Mhm.
right way too. So it's
Exactly.
this
Well,
balance of like you can either use it good, you can use it bad.
we're always, I mean, I think our general stance is that leverage AI to its full extent, but always be transparent about what is not you, and
Mhm.
what is AI. So the whole like clone phenomena and all that other stuff, yeah, it's nope, like just be really transparent about what's you and what's AI.
Even with that book, Jason, like would you have reacted and lost all of the trust to that author if it had said somewhere at the beginning, like this book was written with it's my expertise, but I did use AI to write it. And then if you got to that part in the book where it was like, the extra bit that shouldn't have been in there, would you have been a bit more like it would have been like,
Oh
haha,
yeah.
that's hilarious, but you would have been more forgiving of it, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're like,
Oh,
they told me it was
absolutely.
written by AI, so like, of course that was gonna happen.
Yeah, but understanding that they were trying to deceive
Yeah,
Yeah.
and failed
Right.
in it, they lose all credibility.
yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
actually the cool fun fact, it's actually a psychological phenomena. Like everybody's wired that we have something in our psychology. It's the uncanny valley theory, yeah. Which is basically it's like when we project something to be human, and
Mhm.
we think it's human, and then it violates something that is supposed to be human, and we recognize that it's not human. Um, Not only do we have like an immediate like ooh, like we literally think it's going to kill us from a psychological standpoint. So the degree to which we separate ourselves from it is profound, aka you're like that author is dead to me, because
Yeah.
we think it is a threat, like a life threatening threat, not just a psychological or emotional like mistrust. Like it is at a psychological level. We're like, I have to
Wow.
distance myself from this like as far as possible or else I will die.
It's kind of like like early on, before we had ChatGPT and we could see like they were making robots and they had that, I don't even know which company it was or which country it was, but they had that robot that was like they put like a woman face on it
Yeah.
and you're like, that is like really
Creepy.
creepy.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
obviously it's still a robot and it was very uncomfortable, like to even look at it.
Yeah.
And it's like just, and then there's another company, and I can't remember who it is, but they're the company that's like, you can already pre-order their AI robots
Hmm.
that they're going to be like household ones. And they're like, no, we intentionally did not make it look human. Like the head is like just a circle ring that lights up and it's like people are pre-ordering it. Like people have no problem with that one, but like the humanoid, like I mean, and they're still humanoid, but like the fake face trying to pass it off as a human,
Yeah.
keep that thing away from me.
Yeah. It's actually fun fact
Interesting.
why we also stopped, why we all started hating Clippy was because it was trying to inject more and more human-like
Mm.
responses. So initially everyone's like, oh, cute, and then all
Paperclip
of a
from
sudden,
Microsoft, right? That's
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And like, we all loved it at first, right? But then all of a sudden, like if you ask anybody who is around that age, and I might be dating myself, but like we hate Clippy, like with a passion, Clippy. It was because they started to inject more like human, it tried to be more human, and it's like,
Right.
oh shoot, that stinks when that you know what I mean? Like all of that crap. Yeah. Yeah. It's why we hate Clippy.
Amazing. You know, the other experience that just plays right along with that, I saw this amazing individual on stage, and they were so powerful, so impactful. During the presentation, I went and started following them on social.
Mm.
And then a week or two later, all of a sudden, it was all fake.
Oh.
Every piece of content they came up with was clearly fake. And every response, someone would make a very specific response to the piece of content. And then their response on that comment was clearly written by a machine. And I was like, what happened to the human? And now I was like, I don't even care if I see that guy again on stage. Like, it just doesn't matter because it was so fake. That's incredible to see the uncanny valley in all these different applications.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a real and for anybody who thinks they're going to manipulate or solve it, you won't. Like it is hardwired. It's like it's not possible.
Yeah. Just be transparent. Like if you're using something, we're not saying like don't do it. Don't, try those things.
Yeah.
Just be transparent about it. And then
Mm.
people will be more willing to accept it or
Mhm.
embrace it, honestly. They might embrace it.
Yeah.
It was like the quick like last thought here on that is so Russell Brunson was running his AI challenge this week actually, but prior to the challenge starting, everyone who registered got an AI call, a call that had an AI voice. And but it announced itself as that. It said like, "Hey, this is Russell's AI assistant." And I don't remember if I didn't actually listen to it on my phone, but I don't remember if it was Russell's voice or not. Um, but it said that this is his AI assistant giving you this phone call. And then Russell even like brought it up on the one of the days and showed some screenshots of people's reaction to it. Like people were having fun with it. They were like, "I was trying to stump it." Like, they were like talking to the bot and trying to like get it to say things that, or like answer in funny ways. Like people were embracing it because it wasn't trying to be passed off as something that it wasn't.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I think that's just the lesson here. Like, try it if you want to, try these things, but just, yeah, tell people that it's still AI.
Right. So how do people get in contact with you? How do they find you, reach out to you? Because you're obviously both real human experts in a fake world, and people may want to work with real humans. And so how would they get in contact? What's that best way?
Yep. I think you can find either of us, Susan Leonardson and Andrew Pure on Facebook is where we primarily hang out, but you can also go to our site. Geekoutconnect.com is our site, and then anything we have going on will be put there. We also have a podcast, so if you want to hear from us more, we talk a lot about AI stuff too, and human. It's called We Are Human, and it is on all of the major podcast platforms. Yep, We Are Human. You can go to wearehumanshow.com, and that'll take you to where it's at.
I love it.
Surprisingly,
We are
or maybe
human.
not surprisingly, there's a lot of podcasts named We Are Human. So make sure you find the one with our faces on it.
Okay. Yeah, that would be more and more critical in today's world, distinguishing whether you're human or not.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for being on the show today. I really appreciate that.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for having us.
guys.